Now, while referencing monographs in your library is an excellent way to learn your medicinal plants, but I think an even better way is to create your own monographs yourself. After all, reading only goes so far. Writing something down takes it to a whole other level, right? They say you really know something when you can teach it, or when you've just taken the time to think it through. And when you're just reading about plants, it's more passive, right? You're sitting there and you're reading the thing, you close the book, you walk away. Very easy to forget everything that you read, because most of the time people tend to be reading in a passive manner. For myself, what I realized when it came to studying plants, or really when it comes to studying anything, I retain the information significantly better when I start writing about it, when I am actively reading, okay? So not just passively reading in one ear, out the other, but when I'm actively reading because I'm hunting for patterns. I've got this book and that book and that book, and I'm saying, okay, what are the similarities? What's the crossover? Where's their difference? Where is this book saying something a little different from that book, a little different from that book? And how do I kind of resolve those, especially if there's conflicting information, which sometimes there is. I really encourage the construction of your own monographs. For one, because it helps you retain the information when you're studying the herbs. It helps you just dig deep into one herb, get all of your books out, open them all up to that herb, that monograph. You're looking at it through the lens of Chinese medicine and the lens of Ayurveda and the lens of traditional Western herbalism and the lens of modern science and the lens of this instructor and that teacher and that author. And you get, the goal is to get a well-rounded understanding of that herb, but then to consolidate all of that down, right? To bring all that information together in a cohesive way, in a comprehensive monograph, and then especially that's organized in a way that makes sense to you. This was huge for me. I'm an organizational freak. I really like things to be hyper organized in its place. My mind functions in a very particular way. And oftentimes when I'm looking at the way other people organize things, it doesn't work with the way I would organize it. And so I like to rearrange things in a way that makes sense to my own brain. And I think I don't think I'm alone in that. I think this makes sense because our minds all work in slightly different manners. There's certain ways things are structured and presented and that make sense to people in different ways. And so I really encourage you to build your own herbal monographs and structure and organize them in a way that makes sense to you. Now, what's really cool about this is that as you build these monographs, you can organize not just the individual monographs, but your collection of monographs in a multitude of ways to turn it into a cross-referencing database. What's so cool about, say, PDF documents is that they're searchable. And so also what's really cool about computers is that you can have one file and create shortcuts to it and have folder structures that are organized in ways so you can quickly and easily find what you're looking for to save time. And so cross-referencing databases is a way that I really like to do it. This is how I personally organize my information when I'm needing to look things up. So like a simple example of this would be on your computer, and I encourage people to type your monographs. Handwritten in notebooks is useful, but I think digital documents are nice because you have a little bit more flexibility with it in a lot of ways. So you could say, for example, create a folder for each organ system of the body. And within that organ system, you could either have subfolders that are the herbal actions associated with that organ system. And within that herbal action associated with that organ system, you can have your list of all your monographs and herbs that correspond to that category. And so you could say open liver, and you could have your bitter tonics. You could have your choleretics and cholagogues. You could have your hepatoprotectives, right? And then you could have all of your herbs organized so that you know exactly where to find what you're looking for. So that's a very simple way you could do it. You can even do this, especially if you do like digital documents. For example, in a Google Drive or something, you could create a Google document that has all those categories and listings that then links to your monograph. So you could have, okay, liver category, and then hepatoprotectives, and then your list of all of your monographs that are in that category with links to those monographs. So under the hepatoprotectives, right, you could say, okay, here's my milk thistle, here's my reishi, here's my turmeric, here's my dandelion, right? And that just links right to those monographs. So then you have basically a reference tool that guides you to the herbs so that you can get your information quick and easy. And I think that's a key thing for, especially when you become a busy herbalist, the more time you can save is very, very useful.